The Philippines. I fell in love with this country earlier this year. It's a land of stark contrasts. So I'm back to cover some of the basics that I missed last time around, to prove some points, and to once again dive in a little bit deeper. First up, adobo. The quintessential Filipino meal, but in its most shocking form. It's far more than just a dish. It's now an integral part of the Filipino identity and heritage. However, in the slums of Happy Land, it has to be adapted, with fast food scraps being used as the main ingredient. But dishes here are not just about survival. Extreme conditions in Tondo foster innovation, giving rise to tumbong soup.
Quite honestly, that is one of the best meals I've had here in the Philippines. No word of a lie.
And it's not just the food. Tondo is a place dedicated to transforming what others often discard. It's from scrapyards and recycling slums like this that the Filipino art of sword and bolo making thrives. Discarded metals are given new purpose as they are forged into symbols of enduring independence and resilience.
And when I think of a bolo, I think of like the Philippines. It's like the Filipino sword, right? What kind of use do Filipinos use the bolo for?
Mostly for everyday use.
In the jungle, in the farm?
Jungle, farm, like that.
Just a multi-purpose thing.
Finally, our journey takes us to the sinking regions of the Philippines, where rising sea levels has transformed the landscape, making traditional rice farming untenable. In the face of this change, villages have pivoted towards cultivating higher valued goods. Pampanga, once a bastion of lush rice fields, now adapts ingeniously, farming thousands of monster mud crabs. These crabs are produced in such abundance that they have become a culinary staple.
Well, you can just, it's so juicy, I can't get over that bit. It's not dry at all, you can just suck it out.
So if you want to check the crab, if it is fatty, you can press it here. If it is hard, it means it's fatty, like this one.
What was once reserved for high-end restaurants is now common fare at fast food joints in these parts. This is my second series on the Philippines. First up, adobo, the quintessential Filipino meal, but in its most shocking form. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to cook and eat scraps that others have thrown away, to scavenge for leftovers? What if I told you that here in the slums of Tondo, discarded scraps are not just turned into desperate meals, but into innovative and truly amazing dishes like tumbong soup?
Quite honestly, that is one of the best meals I've had here in the Philippines. No word of a lie.
I'm back here with a feeling of unfinished business. Since my last visit, I've been eager to return. Something's been nagging me. Tondo, often labelled as merely a slum, rumoured to be rife with crime, drugs, unbearable living conditions, is somehow, in my experience, a place that brims with smiles, hard work, productivity and innovation. It's the paradox of Tondo, that despite the hardship, it operates pretty effectively. It boasts a self-sustaining economy that provides real value and a culture that encourages creativity. And it's not just about food. It's from junkyards like these that scrap metal gets a new life, transformed into essential tools for hard-working Filipinos and symbols of national resilience and independence. Louis, a resident of Manila's biggest slum, Happy Land, is guiding me today. He earns his living as a junk runner, collecting bottles at night and selling them the next day. In his day-to-day life, Louis gathers and processes plastic bottles. He sells them to one of the many slum junkyards. The value of these materials has risen, he shares, especially when collected in bulk.
He's selling everything other than the food, and he's going to get paid by the kilo. They're weighing up right now. He's getting in the way.
For instance, the 80 kilos of plastics that he amassed last night are fetching him around
423 pesos for 3 a.m. till 10 a.m. 82 kilos worth of garbage collected.
These bottles are later processed into a myriad of different items, from bricks to fabric. Amidst this laborious routine, Louis still manages to engage in basketball. offering a moment of respite and a communal connection.
And you like basketball culture?
Yes.
What's your favorite team?
Dallas Mavericks.
What's your favorite player?
Luka Doncic.
In Happy Land, basketball is everywhere, just as it is in the rest of the Philippines.
That's legit the hardest hoop I've ever seen. These guys are going to be basketball gods. That thing was tiny and tall. Hello.
Alongside this, he picks up leftover fast food, which he later recooks for his meals.
I like it so much.
You like it so much?
Yes.
This process is known as pagpag. I've tried pagpag during my last visit to Happy Land, but it seemed hard for some people to believe. So when Louis offered to share his pagpag lunch with me, I accepted without hesitation.
You know what? It shouldn't be a surprise. It's fairly juicy. There's a good amount of chicken in that.
In some weird and twisted way, adobo might be the perfect way to cook pagpag, a technique historically used to fight off contamination. A combination of high heat, salt, and vinegar all combined in an attempt to stave off bacteria. And I'm not in any way trying to claim that this is safe, but when it comes to pagpag, you may as well pull out all the stops.
Do you ever sell it or do you just eat it personally?
Eat personal.
You never sell it?
Never.
You just eat it personally?
Yes.
Do you ever give it to friends and neighbors?
No.
No, just for yourself.
I just cook it.
And believe me, consuming this adobo-styled pagpag is a lot tougher of a mental exercise than eating the deep-fried variety.
Louis, how you doing, man?
Hello po.
Good to see you. Look, I really appreciate you cooking up the pagpag adobo for me. It's something that I've been thinking about ever since the last time I was here in Happy Land. Let's just try some. Let's dive right in. Can we grab a bite?
Yes.
All right. Go straight for it. All right, guys, here we go. Moment of truth. This is pagpag adobo. So, wow. Is that different or what? This is hugely different from last time when I had the Jollibee version of pagpag. Last time I copped a lot of criticism because I had a very full piece of pagpag. This now today is an adobo pagpag. You still get that kind of like vinegary, incredibly salty flavor. It's really nothing like the adobo we had at the markets at all. That's for damn sure. And you're sort of picking away at the bones, the remaining bits of chicken that are left in and around the joints of the chicken. You get a really, really strong salty flavor. I think that this preservation method, the vinegar and the salt, is kind of what makes this maybe a bit less dangerous. Louis this morning sold 80 kilos of just the rubbish that he's collected. He would have processed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kilos of trash, and that's what he's got this food from. I'm gonna try one more piece, and then we're gonna dig in a little bit to Louis' lifestyle. You know what? It shouldn't be a surprise. It's fairly juicy. There's a good amount of chicken in that. It's got a really different flavor. You're never gonna really try chicken like this. It almost tastes like a chicken curry. It's actually pretty good. It's just the mental block, the hurdle here of seeing it getting cleaned off. It's a bit that's hard to get past. Once you actually try it, it becomes relatively normal pretty quickly. And if you were served this without anybody telling you what it was, it'd be good. It'd be like a really salty chicken adobo, chicken stew almost. So Louis, thanks for doing this. How often do you eat this meal?
Every other day.
Every other day.
Yes.
Where do you usually find it?
Garbage ng Chowking, mga fast food.
Is it really common here in Happy Land? Does everybody eat pagpag?
No, the others do not eat.
Just a few people.
Just a few. I like it so much.
You like it so much?
Yes.
When did you start collecting plastics, cardboard, that kind of stuff?
From 3 a.m. to 9 a.m.
How old when you started?
17.
17?
Yes.
Look, I couldn't help but notice, if you don't mind, what happened to your leg?
I was hit by a truck when I was 5 years old.
And how long did it take you to get used to life with one leg?
2 years.
2 years
Yes.
to adapt. In your profession, did it make it tricky to get around town to collect trash with one leg?
No.
No? You used to cycle around, right?
Yes.
With one leg?
Yes.
And you're fine?
No.
Not fine? Oh. Do you like living in Happy Land?
Yes.
You ever wanted to get out of here or not?
No.
Really? Hey man, thanks a bunch, man. I really appreciate you cooking up this adobo for me and sharing a bit of your lifestyle with me. Thanks, man.
Thank you po.
It may be easy to think that Tondo's food scene is dominated by pagpag, characterized by mere necessity and a touch of desperation. But that's a limited view.
This is 5, this is 10. I'll get a 5. All right, thank you. Street food that you'll find here, it's not all hug bug in Happy Land. This is like a spring roll, but apparently inside it's just like mung bean taste. 5 pesos for one, just like everything here in the Philippines, especially in the slums. It's dipped in copious amounts of vinegar. And it tastes exactly like that.
In Happy Land, ingenuity rules the kitchen. Pug pug adobo and tumbong soup are more than just foods. They're testament to the residents' skill in turning scraps into hearty, meaningful meals. One of these is about pure survival, but the other is something truly special.
Right up there with some of the best stuff I've eaten in country. Promise.
In Tondo, tumbong soup is a culinary standout.
Marami din kami nagtitinda ng tumbong dito. Simula nung sumikat nga itong tumbong soup, ang dami na rin naglabasan kung saan-saan lugar na nagtitinda ng tumbong.
Made from the part of a pig's intestine closest to the anus, the body part is stigmatized and typically discarded elsewhere. But Tondo's unique ethos, centered around utilizing what is commonly thrown away, ensures that even tumbong finds a valued place in the local cuisine.
Sinasabi nila, nagugustuhan nila tumbong soup kasi malambot, malinamnam, yung soup namin masarap, sabi nila. Sa loob ng isang araw, nakakabenta kami ng 25 kilos na tumbong na nililinis araw-araw.
Here, it's not just used, it's transformed into something simply extraordinary.
It cleans with a heart. Sikat ang Rados lechon sa tumbong. Dahil ang Rados ang kauna-unahang nagtinda ng tumbong sa malinis na paraan, mabusising paglilinis. Kasi hindi mo siya basta-basta mabibenta pag may lasa eh. Kailangan malinis na malinis siya bago mo siya ibenta.
I'm going to go straight for this soup first. The thick, collagen-y soup base. It's particularly interesting because they use the part of the intestine which is closest to the pig's anus. So it's very important that you clean it quite thoroughly. Wow, that is really good actually. I think pig's head always makes for some of the best soup stock. It's just all of that fat and collagen. It just breaks down, renders right down. It's been boiling away for hours. It's not exactly like a thick soup, but it is packed with flavor. You can see a little bit of oil. You have shallots, fried garlic, giving the soup extra flavor and a little bit of texture. That is legit, just outstanding. All right guys, let's go. We're gonna grab a bit of this. And I mean, it does have like a little bit of an intimidating look. A lot of the time when I've eaten offal intestines before, it's often like barbecued, grilled. There's a lot of that in Vietnam. But let's see how it goes. Just a meaty flavor. It's perfectly al dente. I think it's an incredibly hard thing to cook, intestines. You sort of run that balance of if it's overboiled, it's just gonna be a gooey, squishy mess. And if you don't cook it at all, it's just gonna be rubbery and too thick to even chew through. This is just perfect. It has just enough bite, your teeth slice right through, but it's not just disintegrating away. They really know what they're doing here. You would never know that this was an intestine if you weren't told it or if you didn't see it. It has none of that gamey or strong flavors you might associate with intestines and with offal. Quite honestly, that is one of the best meals I've had here in the Philippines. No word of a lie. Really, really sensational. I have rice here. I guess I'm supposed to eat it with the rice. This is how you do it in Vietnam. I'm not exactly sure. Wow, actually with the rice, it really comes true. Has it got garlic in the rice? I think it does. Like a garlic bread with the soup. I would not have thought. I really don't know what else to say. That is an absolutely sensational soup. If you are coming to the Philippines, definitely give this a try. Right up there with some of the best stuff I've eaten in country. Promise. Do you like tumbong soup?
Yes.
How old are you?
44.
Do you have any kids?
Yes. 2.
2 kids. Do they like this?
Sometimes. The small one.
The small one.
They like this small one.
And do you cook it every day?
Yes. Nung nagkasakit ang biyenan kong lalaki na si Conrado Bautista last 2014, ako na po ang nag-handle nung pamamalengke niya.
Does anybody else in Manila make tumbong soup as good as you guys? Or are you guys the best?
Hindi ko masasabi. Mahirap magbuhat ng sariling bangko eh.
There's no way anyone else is as good as you guys.
Ay, thank you.
But it's not just food that is reborn in Happy Land. Here, discarded steel begins a new journey, finding its way into the hands of skilled craftsmen across the Philippines. And so, I'm setting out to craft a blade of resilience and freedom from steel found in the depths of Manila's largest slum.
Hopefully we end up with a little bit of Filipino heritage to take back home. How long have you been making swords for?
15 to 17 years like that.
It's a pretty impressive operation you have here.
And man, do these guys make something beautiful and iconic or what? My quest for a sword or a bolo starts out on the streets of Happy Land. Here, at one of the many junk shops specialized in steel, I'm buying a variety of cuts with the goal of having it reborn. I'm setting off to meet up with a team of master swordsmiths deep in the Kapampangan countryside. Here, Pao and his sister Daisy have been keeping the tradition of Filipino sword making alive. They run a small blacksmith's workshop and employ a team of highly skilled swordsmiths. And as soon as I arrive, things kick into action. The steel is cut to size, hammered until red hot in a coal forge, and hammered flat.
But these guys are a pretty serious operation. The quality of the weaponry that they're turning out is pretty incredible. There are master blacksmiths here that have been doing this their entire lives.
This team of bolo makers transforms scrap steel from junkyards all across the Philippines into everything from everyday tools to iconic blades. And today, I've asked them to make me something similar to Andres Bonifacio's iconic bolo.
Hey, I wonder how the sword is going to turn out.
Well before colonization, the indigenous communities of the Philippines were already proficient in the art of crafting weapons and tools essential for their survival and combat. The diverse tribal needs and distinct cultures across the archipelago led to the development of a vast array of unique regional styles. Later, the introduction of advanced Chinese metallurgy and Spanish blade designs brought new techniques and materials to the forefront. Filipino artisans, in their skill and ingenuity, seamlessly integrated these new elements with their age-old traditional methods. This fusion has resulted in one of the richest and most diverse sword-making heritages on the planet. From the kris, with its distinctive wavy blade, deeply embedded with Moro culture, to the barong, a leaf-shaped sword favored by the Tusang, Yakan, and Samal warriors, to the Kaplan, a wide-tipped long blade, to the Ginating, integral to Filipino martial arts, the Philippines has a rich diversity of swords. However, the bolo holds a special place due to its historical significance. This versatile tool was used both in agriculture and in combat. It became a symbol of national resistance during the Filipino Revolution under Andres Bonifacio. The bolo was a practical choice for combat, accessible to the common people who formed the backbone of the Katipunan movement. The bolo's transformation from a humble agricultural tool to a symbol of national resilience and liberation is precisely the type of cheesy symbolism that resonates with me. Therefore, today we're crafting a bolo. The crafting of our bolo begins with the steel being roughly cut to shape, an initial step that forms the foundation of the sword. This rough shape is then brought to life in the forge, where intense heat and hammering flatten and refine the steel.
I'm told that part of this process is to remove some of the bend that was in the metal. They just have this motorized blower and that thing is hot.
Next, the grindstone plays a critical role, meticulously honing the blade to a distinctive form. This is followed by a methodical sanding process, slowly transitioning from coarse to finer and finer grits.
There are 4 or 5 sanding stations here in the workshop, and that's basically, from what I understand, how it is cut all the way down the sides. They're going to file little bits off, and then they're going to keep shaving in with the sandpaper. That's all you can hear in the background, if you can even hear me at all. Sanding, sanding, and more sanding, layer after layer after layer, until we get something that almost exactly resembles the template or the desired output of the sword.
This smooths and perfects the blade's surface. While all this is going on, the crafting of the handle begins with the careful selection of buffalo horn.
The big advantage of buffalo horn over wood is that no matter what you're going to do to it, it's not going to rot. It's going to stand up to time a little bit better, apparently. So we're going with a buffalo horn handle today.
The horn is precisely cut and gradually shaped, tailored to ensure a comfortable and secure fit with the blade. The final steps in the blade's creation include sharpening it to a fine edge and extensive polishing. This showcases the blade's quality and craftsmanship. This detailed process, refined over generations, reflects the deep expertise of Filipino artisans in bringing to life a tool that is both practical and symbolic.
Also in progress is the sheath, which has been rendered down from wood, 2 pieces of separate wood, which has had the template stenciled into it, and that they are then shaving away at. Very similar process with just a sanding disc and just slowly working that into shape. So the blade is really starting to take shape now. We just have a couple more final steps, and that is involving putting some pins through the handle so that it doesn't slip out, polishing it up, and getting that final level of sharpness. We really need that final level of sharpness.
And after hours and hours in the making, the bolo is finally ready for some action.
Hey, pal. How you doing, man? Dude, I appreciate you showing me your sword workshop. It's a pretty impressive operation you have here.
I appreciate it.
How many people do you have in your team?
Now 5.
And how many swords do you guys make every week?
It depends on the order. 15 to 20 long sword for 1 week.
Wow.
With the overtime. But for the mid sword like a bolo or kampilan like that, they can make at least 10 to 15.
And what's the most popular? What are most customers ordering at this time?
For now, it's very popular samurai.
Samurai swords are really
Yeah.
popular. How long have you been making swords for?
15 to 17 years like that. My father has some issues.
So you inherited this business from your
Yeah,
father?
heritage.
I see. And so how long did your father make swords for? Did he do it his whole life?
No, he's doing it, I think, since he's 14 years old, like that, 13 years old.
13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
And then you took over the business and you're making
Yeah.
swords now. And was it always swords or was he making other things as well?
No, different, like a dagger, like a Rambo, like that.
It's always some kind of weapon.
Mostly.
Mostly. The Philippines has a pretty rich history of swords. What is a typical Filipino blade?
Bolo, kampilan, Kris, Tagalog, like that.
Why is it that the Philippines has such a long history of making and being interested in different kinds of swords?
Quality, durability, like that.
Where are the majority of your customers?
Some Philippines and international, mostly international.
What type of metal do you use to make the swords?
Mostly we're using a leaf spring.
Leaf spring. From old cars, just like you buy it from a junk
Yeah.
shop?
Yeah, junk shop like that.
Gotcha.
But sometimes we have a customer take like 304 stainless steel like that. Very hard metal.
It takes a long time to make
Yeah.
from stainless. What kind of sword do you like the most?
For me, those bolo, easy to carry like that.
Easy to carry, useful,
Mostly for everyday use.
in the jungle, in the
Yeah,
farm?
jungle, farm, like that.
Right, thanks man.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
I get to know a little bit more about one of the blacksmiths who turned this Happy Land scrap into an iconic bolo.
Tony, hello. Dude, is this my sword? Can I have a look? Wow. Dude, I've been waiting for this for quite some time. Oh, jeez. Wow, man, you've really outdone yourself. This is really cool. How long have you been making swords for?
3 years na. Yung pinanggaling ako siyam. Siguro yun ang kinalakihan ko sa magulang ko. Kasi dati rin kasi swordsmaker yung tatay ko. Nakuha din ako na gumawa ng kaya ngayon niya rin ako gumawa ng samurai.
And so, what kind of swords did your father make?
Iba-iba, pang Lord of the Rings, Claymore,
Man, so it's sort of like all kinds of different crazy swords. What's your favorite type of sword to make?
samurai.
Samurai swords. Why?
Kasi madaling patalinin kasi samurai. Mas gusto ko yung samurai kaysa sa bolo.
Oh, really? Are you proud of the swords that you make?
Proud syempre. Kailangan pag gumawa ka ng espada, kailangan nasa puso mo at nasa isip mo para at least mabuo mo siya ng maayos.
What do you think about the quality? Do you think the quality of the swords you guys make is high?
Siguro may kukuha ko siya sa talim niya. Siguro kung sa nasa 97, 98 yung ibabase sa kapwa naming maker. Kasi marami kasing gumagawa ng maker, hindi naman kami pare-parehas ng style ng paggawa at pagsusubo. Yung pagte-tempered kasi ang yun ang sinusugalan dyan. Kung gaano katibay yung subo, yung pinaka-tempered niya. Kasi siguro ikukumpara ko sa amin kung nasa 97, 95 gano'n. Kasi maraming maker.
Have you ever made other things as a blacksmith, other than blades?
Sa ibang work, puro espada lang.
What's the thought process once you see the design?
Siyempre, iniisip ko rin kung kaya ba namin o ano. Siyempre, pag di naman namin siya kaya, kakusapin naman namin ang customer, sabi namin, di namin kaya design niya. Pero at least, kung may mabibigay sila sa amin na pattern, yun ang gagayahin namin.
Thank you very much. I absolutely love this sword. It's a cool piece of Filipino history I'm happy to take home with me. Thank you.
Getting to visit these workshops has been an enlightening experience for me, showcasing the enduring art of Filipino bolo making. I really believe that the Philippines, with its vast cultural diversity and historical international influences, offers one of the broadest ranges of traditional sword designs globally. And unlike most sword making traditions that have become static or purely symbolic, Filipino sword making is vibrant and evolving. It's deeply integrated into martial arts like arnis, eskrima, and kali, and this ongoing evolution is both fascinating and a vital part of Filipino heritage. While in Pampanga, I decided to visit towns facing the challenge of sinking land. Towns across the Philippines are vanishing below the waves, drowning in salt water.
Kamag-anak mo dito, kailangan bangka na talaga gagamitin mo para lang.
Lush rice fields are being turned into aquatic wastelands. But why are so many locals happy about it? You see, they've turned to an unusual savior, mud crabs. But how the hell can crabs be saving these sinking communities? Why are there so many of them? And do they taste any good?
These things might not all be monsters, but there are some monsters here. Big ass mud crabs, man. Giants.
I'm starting out in Masantol in the Pampangan countryside, where millions of dollars worth of crab are being processed every week.
This has to be one of the largest producers of crabs in all of the Philippines, this area. Let's check it out.
Here in the small riverside markets is where it all begins. Markets here are dominated by crab. They are the star of the show, the main event. Even the fish that are being bought and sold at these markets are for crab food.
And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of crabs.
Instead of roads, local farmers arrive by river on long motorized canoes, gracefully navigating the narrow canals that serve as a lifeline for these communities. They connect the farms to the market.
Longboats pull up with a load full of crabs, sort of packaged up, bought by wholesale buyers that are selling them maybe in Manila or elsewhere around the country.
And one by one they are carefully inspected and sold to wholesale buyers. This is not really a retail market. There's only wholesale buyers here. Unlike the bustling energy of a typical market, this one exudes a more serious, business-like atmosphere. The sheer abundance of crabs that is being processed here, though, is mind-boggling. How can such a small and sinking village produce millions upon millions of dollars worth of crab? To find out, I'm meeting up with Gideon, a young crab farmer who has agreed to show me around his family crab farm and explain exactly how things work. But things were not always this way. Gideon's family were once rice farmers, as was everybody in this area.
When your parents grew up here, they used to be rice farmers.
Yes, before they are rice farmers, but when I was a child, I was in this kind of industry, which is fish pond.
Getting the drone up in the air just blew my mind. An intricate web of canals connecting what were once clearly rice fields, now flooded with ocean water as far as the eye can see. The waters of Manila Bay are slowly engulfing the coastal regions of Bulacan and Pampanga. Over the past 2 decades, these lands have been descending at 4 to 6 centimeters per year into the embrace of the sea, a sinking phenomenon that is believed to be fueled by the relentless extraction of groundwater and the compaction of the earth beneath. But that's just the beginning of the story. Sea levels surge here at a rate 4 times faster than the global average, adding to the threat against the coastline. And if that's not enough, the once sprawling mangrove forests here, spanning over 130,000 acres, have dwindled to near nothing, leaving this region incredibly exposed to the unpredictable forces of nature, flooding, and the annual onslaught of fierce typhoons. It makes living conditions harsh, to say the least. Things had to change.
There's no livelihood. We need to convert it into fish pan in order to earn money and survive here in our area.
That's where Gideon's farm comes into play. Navigating through the narrow waterway canals lined with houses along the banks, we finally arrive at Gideon's farm, a large rectangular pond amidst a sea of similar ponds.
You have a giant pond here. How the hell do you take care of them and how do you check on them?
We use our hands.
Really?
Yes,
So you just get out there and you find the crabs with your hands.
that is correct.
Don't they bite you?
Sometimes.
I see.
Without hesitation, Gideon plunges his bare hands into the water, revealing a jaw-dropping sight. This place is literally teeming with monster mud crabs.
Gideon is actually heading back with the crab. I cannot believe you pulled that off. Madness.
Farming these crabs is a relatively simple but fascinating world. Multiple times per year, the ponds are heavily stocked with fingerlings, and these voracious eaters now number in the tens of thousands, and they need a whole lot of food to survive.
We feed them every day.
Just throw fish out there.
Yes, that's true.
As it turns out, the food is farmed along with the crabs in the same pond, and so I head out with Gideon to capture a bountiful catch from this pond. The water is alive with an array of coastal fish, an assortment of prawns, and a huge amount of tilapia. Gideon uses 2 types of net that are permanently set up to catch feed for the crabs, as well as food for his dinner table. There's a standard gill net that runs along the top of the water, and a box trap, or dragon trap as they call it, that sits along the bottom. We check them both. The shrimp and the more tasty varieties of fish are kept for food. Crabs are monitored for health, or they're kept for sale if they're big enough, and tilapia are cut up for crab feed. But it is wild to me that tilapia can live in everything from 100% fresh water to this straight up salt water that has mullet and shrimp swimming around in it, and the tilapia can just propagate wild whilst getting netted every single day for crab food, and they thrive. Oh wow. That's a bigger crab. Oh, where'd he go? Oh, dude, that's a monster crab.
So there you go. In the dragon trap, as it is called here in the Philippines, we have pulled up one quite small crab and one, to me, that looks like an absolute monster. It is pretty crazy to me the size that these guys let these things get to, or that they're able to get them to. Oh, dude, that was so quick.
3 times. So if you want to check the crab if it is fatty, you can press it here. If it is hard, it means it's fatty, like this one. It's hard to press. And also with the weight of the crab, you can check that in your own hands.
After checking the nets, Gideon and I prepare some of these tilapia for food. After cutting up the tilapia, we head back out to feed the crabs. And what's interesting here is the lack of care about whose crabs are whose, or what happens when these crabs inevitably climb from one pond into the other.
What if your crabs escape over there into the public waterway?
It's free.
Free crab.
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Lucky crab, right?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, you can only eat the meal.
Man, Man, that's super interesting. In Australia, it's illegal to keep female crabs. You have to release all females so that they keep propagating in the wild.
I have eaten my fair share of mud crabs in my time, but these Pampanga farmed crabs are monsters. If I'm honest, I'm doubtful that farmed crabs can taste as good as the wild stuff. So we're taking a boat ride back to Gideon's house, where his aunt has been kind enough to cook some up for us. The lives of the crab farmers here is now so disconnected from the wider Philippines and world that each of these families is essentially self-sufficient. They subside largely off fish and various poultry that they can farm on the narrow strips of land.
So we've come back to Giddy's house, which is one of these beautiful little houses in these sort of mud crab canals that stretch for miles and miles. And he has a pretty basic setup here. Essentially, it's just a few buckets with which they rotate the water out. And they're gonna place the larger mud crabs in there that are not yet filled with meat. And essentially just over the course of a couple of weeks, fatten them up, feed them a little bit of fish every single day. Seems like a pretty damn good idea. I do not know why we don't fatten up crabs in Australia. Genius.
An essential part of the process for these crab farmers, as only fat crabs full with meat can be sold for profit.
Oh, so you're gonna keep it?
We can, but it's small.
That's small, yeah. So we should throw it back, right?
You can throw it back. Bye-bye.
Today, Gideon's aunt is preparing chili garlic crab for us.
Like this one?
Yep.
She starts by dicing up some small local chilies. Next, ginger is crushed and cut into thin slices. And meanwhile, Gillian quickly dispatches the crab.
You will see.
Super steady.
The crab is then thoroughly cleaned. A wok is brought up to temp and a large amount of butter is added to the pan and melted down. The onions, ginger and chilies are all added to the sizzling butter and slowly caramelized. Various parts of the crab are then added to this mix, with special care taken to add the large parts first and ensure an even cook. Everything is stirred well, a touch of salt is added, and then everything is left to simmer. Finally, once everything is cooked through, the larger crab claws are cracked open and re-added to the wok to soak up some of that glorious buttery garlic goodness. Once done, we sit down to eat.
Gideon,
Yes,
dude, this looks amazing.
definitely.
How big was this crab? It looks like a monster.
1 kilogram.
1 kilo.
Here in the Philippines, it's 1,100. But if you go in Manila, it's 1,500.
How often do you eat mud crab like this?
Once a month?
Once a month.
Yes.
I mean, that's still fairly frequently, but you catch mud crab every day.
Twice a week.
Twice a week.
Yes.
Look, your auntie has prepared this in some incredible looking sauce. Man, this is my kind of meal. I could do this every day. Dude, I can't wait any longer. Why don't we grab a bite and we can get going? I wanted to try one of these giant arch crab claws. Let's do it. Cheers, man. Ching.
Let's do this. Just go out again.
Oh my God, wow. Dude, that is incredible. The garlic flavor, really strong. Rich, garlicky. You get a little bit of bite from that chili. Wow. You know, I'm used to sort of just the plain steamed crab, but I'm gonna start doing it like this. This garlic steamed crab, wow.
Yes. It's very yummy.
A little bit of ginger in it, right?
Yes.
Oh my God. It's not really as dry as most crabs. I think when we're steaming it, I've been cooking it for too long or something. This is really, really tender and a super unique way to cook crab. I really haven't seen mud crab prepared like this before. Oh, the body?
Yes, the body.
Wow. That is a good idea. Dude, oh my God. There is just a ton of garlic on the top of this thing. Oh, I'm going to scrape off a little bit of this garlic, ginger, chili mix because otherwise it's just going to be a little bit too powerful. And you can really see the fattening up process like this. You know, I've seen a lot of crabs you catch wild and there's really not all that much meat in them. And where the meat is in the claws, but this is just chunky. That is thick, thick, thick with meat. That is crazy. Oh my God.
This is the good part.
That's the best bit? Or like the swimmer?
Yes.
Okay, I'll grab one of these. All right, here we go. Oh my God. You can just, it's so juicy. I can't get over that bit of it. It's not dry at all. You can just suck it out and, wow. Exceptional meat. That is so good, dude. That's incredible. So you eat this once a month?
Yes, once a month only because it's unhealthy if you eat a lot.
Oh, I wouldn't care. I would eat a lot of it.
This is the fat of the crab.
All right. Wow, the fat of the crab?
Yes, you can try to use this.
What?
Get everything and then eat.
I've never even heard of people eating this. Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, one of the yummiest part.
Really? One of the more desirable parts. I've eaten a ton of mud crab in my day and I've always just thrown away the top shell without touching any of it. So do I scrape that bit off?
Yes.
I've got to admit, it doesn't look the most appetizing. Okay, here we go. The fat, you say?
Yes.
It looks like some kind of membrane to me. Wow. Dude, that is a totally different flavor, huh?
Yes.
God, it has kind of like I think I've got some of the ginger in there. It's giving it almost like a weird crunch to it. It obviously has a really different texture from the flesh. The flesh is that sort of flake apart in your mouth. This had far more of a chewy consistency and then just melted away. Wow, really incredible meal. Man, is this a big mud crab to you guys? Do they get much bigger than this?
Oh, yes. The most biggest crab that I caught is 2.5 kilos.
2.5 kilos?
Yes.
Holy crap. How many crab do you think you have in your farm?
When the time that we put the fingerlings in the pan, we usually put 5 to 10,000 pieces.
5 to 10,000 fingerlings?
Yes.
And you do that how often?
3 times in a year.
3 times a year?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So basically, once we put the 10 to 5,000, we harvest that within 4 to 5 months. And then after that, we reprocess again.
You harvest 5 to 10,000 mud crabs per month?
Yes.
Whoa, you're selling an absolute ton of this crab at the market.
That's right. After rice farming, we transform to fish pan. For the water here is not salty water. That's why we can able to plant a rice.
So it used to be fresh water?
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then eventually the water became salty.
And so what's happening here? Is the sea level rising or is the town sinking?
It's the same. So basically the sea level is higher and also the land.
So the land has become level with the ocean level?
That's correct.
Is that why the town near here seems to be sinking? Like everything when I drove past was underwater basketball courts, underwater churches.
Yes.
But it wasn't always like that. When your parents grew up here, they used to be rice farmers.
Yes, before they are rice farmers, but when I was a child, I was in this kind of industry, which is fish pond.
So I guess everybody has to learn to change and adapt.
Yes, we need to change and adapt to the situation that we have.
Well, dude, I tell you what, you guys have adapted in maybe the best way possible because that is absolutely exceptional. It's a high value product, tastes amazing. The lifestyle out here is really beautiful and very nice. So I think you've got a good man. Thanks for showing me around your fish farm today, for letting me try some of this amazing crab. I'm never gonna look at crab the same again. And next time I catch one, I might just take it home and fatten it up a little bit.
Yes.
Good method, right? Mm-hmm. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
So Manila Bay is rising, and these rice fields are turning into crab ponds, right? But here's the twist. The locals are winning. They've gone all in on these massive mud crabs. We're talking big business, millions in crabs every week. The entire economy is now all about crabs. These families, who were once all about rice, have made the perfect pivot. Families like Gideon's are far better off now than they ever were in the past.
Crabs and shrimp is very expensive, especially nowadays.
So it's almost like a better business than rice farming.
That's correct.
And the abundance of crabs here has spawned an entire industry. They're found in such abundance that they're now not just part of fancy restaurants in the region, they're everywhere. Even fast food places have popped up like Crabs and Crack. They're all over the region. What you are paying top dollar for back home is common table fare in these parts. I think it's a game changer and something that's going to have to continue, because whatever the reason may be, seawater in these regions are rising, and they're continuing to devour much of the farmland in many areas of the Philippines. But if I've learned anything during my time here, it's that you just don't count these guys out. They will find a way to adapt whatever conditions they face.
Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you have somehow made it through this giant long edit, I really appreciate it, and I would appreciate a subscription even more. That is pretty much it for this trip here in the Philippines, but we do have one more video coming out, an extra long video on Tawi-Tawi, the Samar, the Tusang, and the Badjao people. If you enjoyed this, stick around for that. That is coming next week. Goodbye.